Ammo can be quite expensive, so what do you do when you want to get more proficient on your rifle without spending hundreds of dollars on hundreds of rounds of ammo? Well, that's where dry firing comes into play. Welcome back to Mission Ready Society. I'm your host, Orrin Price, and in today's video, we're discussing 5 different dry fire drills that you can do at your home. Now, it's important to note that you don't want to be doing this with any live rounds around, just to prevent any accidents from happening. And you also want to make sure that you have a spot where you can point in a safe direction. So we're going to be discussing 5 different drills, from trigger control to stability to different stuff like that. So without further ado, let's get into it. Oh, and one last thing for me to mention before we get into doing the drills themselves is that this video is geared towards rifles specifically. Now, some principles obviously will still apply to other firearm platforms as well, but we're focusing more on rifles, and this is the AR platform. So everything I do will be pertaining to the AR platform, but it can also be used for other rifles as well, such as bolt actions or other things like that. So yeah, now let's get into it. All right, so for our first drill here, we're going to be doing trigger control. So it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. We are just going to practice our trigger squeeze. So for this, we're going to use these, which are known as snap caps. I'll get closer here. These are essentially just a mock or a fake round that is the exact dimensions as whatever caliber your rifle's chambered in. So this is chambered in 5.56, therefore this is the same dimensions as 5.56. And now what these snap caps have is a piece of rubber where your primer would normally sit, and this allows for when the firing pin goes forward, it hits this piece of rubber and doesn't damage it. So these are kind of essential to dry firing, that you don't damage your rifle or your firearm. Now, other than that, we're just going to need a magazine like you would, standardly use. Now we'll just load this normally, like so, and we can now get into the drill itself. So I'm going to run through twice here of this drill, and essentially it is just practicing our trigger squeeze. And you can do this over and over again, that way it becomes muscle memory. But yeah, this is very important. Before I get into the drill itself, this is very important because oftentimes what a lot of people do is while they're shooting, especially if they never ran through this or been told, is that they will, fingers off the trigger, they're ready to shoot, fingers here, they slap the trigger, right? They're just slapping it like so. Especially with semi-autos like this rifle is they'll slap every single round like so. And what that does is it actually pulls your firearm to one side, right? Usually depending on what hand dominant you are. But it'll pull it to one side, and what that does is now the trajectory of your round is now going to be off to one side instead of being perfectly straight. Therefore, it's not as accurate. So we do this drill to be more accurate with our rifle. And the trigger squeeze is so important to being accurate. So, you just load this like we normally would, like so. Magazine is in, rack, ready to go. It's on safe. So now I'm just going to run through the drill itself and what a good trigger squeeze would look like. So give myself a good cheek weld here, look through the scope, and now say I'm ready to shoot, put it on fire, finger is still off the trigger, fingers now on the trigger, not squeezing it though. And now when I have myself in a good position where I'm going to shoot, I take up the slack, like so, and then when I'm ready to go, boom. And now when I reset the trigger, I do not let my finger off completely. Notice how my finger is still on the trigger. This is because when the trigger resets, it'll make a second click, which will, it'll be audible and you'll know that the trigger has reset. All right, I had to take my fleece off because it was getting a little warm, but now I'm going to run through the drill a second time just so you guys can see it again. So we'll start in a good position here, aiming in the safe direction, and now looking down at our scope here. Now when I'm ready to fire, on fire, fingers off the trigger, finger is now on the trigger, taking out the slack, and boom. And now reset and fingers falling off. Okay, and that is our drill. Like so. Let me drop this in here now. Yep. So that is the first dry fire drill. And again, this is for accuracy purposes and just getting down plenty of reps of, running through that trigger squeeze and making sure you get that down. Trigger squeeze is insanely important for accuracy, especially when you're shooting out far distances. So that's our first dry fire drill. We'll now jump into the second dry fire drill. All right, so for this second dry fire drill, we are focusing on stability. Now we're going to incorporate that trigger control drill that we just did in our first dry fire drill into this one as well. But with this drill, we're not so much focused on squeezing the trigger, we're more focused on keeping our rifle stable. Now this is great for free-handed shooting. So, when you're not resting on anything, you're just standing, people tend to sway or circle all over the place. So this helps train to keep your firearm stable. And the way we do so is we're just going to, use our snap caps again in our magazine. And we're also going to use a coin. I just have a quarter here. You could also use a penny or whatever you have laying around, just some coin. And now essentially what you're going to do is you're going to balance it on some point on your barrel. It could be the muzzle device, wherever you so choose. And then you're going to balance it. And then you're going to pick it up and freehand it, and then run through your trigger squeeze. So I'm going to do that now. I'm just going to load this. So ready to go. Now we're going to take our coin, we're going to balance it, just like so. And now that our coin is balanced, I'm going to do the best of my ability to not let that fall. So, pick it up into a free-handed position, like so, and now we'll run through our trigger squeeze. Fingers on the trigger. Slack, fire, reset, fingers off the trigger. And now, set it back down. Boom. Coin is still on the end of the barrel. That's what you want to do. You want to keep that balanced on the end there without it falling off. Now, another great thing you can do with this is not necessarily incorporating the trigger squeeze per se, but what you can do, is you can practice walking with your firearm. So I'll insert a clip of me doing that, but essentially you're just going to walk in a straight line or whatever pattern you so choose with your rifle, just aiming obviously somewhere safe and trying to keep that coin balanced on the end of it. All right, that concludes our second dry fire drill. So now we're going to move into our third dry fire drill. All right, so for this third dry fire drill, we are going to be focusing on our cheek weld, also known as our natural point of aim. And now what this does is this allows us to be more accurate when we're starting from the low ready. And basically allow us to acquire targets easier and quicker and more accurately. So essentially the way that this dry fire drill works is you'll start from low ready, you'll have your eyes closed. I won't do this first rep here, but you know, you're in your stance here, and you'll start low ready, and then you're going to bring it up, bring your rifle up, looking down through your optic, and then you will open your shooting eye, whatever that eye that is for you, and you should automatically be lined up with your optic looking down through it, and yeah, you should already be lined up and everything. Now, if it's not already lined up when you open your eye, then obviously you do this until it becomes muscle memory. And the better you become at your natural point of aim, the more it just becomes automatic, right? So instead of like forcefully having to like get yourself situated, it's just naturally. You know, you're not forcing it, you're just naturally in that cheek weld, looking down through your optic, ready to go. So this is what this dry fire drill looks like. Essentially, you'll start from the low ready, you'll have your eyes closed, you'll bring it up, get the cheek weld, and open your eye. And now you can do it quicker or slower depending on what you need or where you're at, but it's basically it. You can just run it over and over again, like so, until it becomes muscle memory. And this drill is so simple and so easy that you can just do it over and over again. But yeah, that is the third dry fire drill. So now we're going to get into the fourth dry fire drill. All right. So now for our fourth drill, this is going to be for target acquisition. So again, we won't be using the trigger function for this, or squeezing the trigger actually. But yeah, again, so you can put up targets if you want, but you don't have to. The easiest way is to just pick two identifiable points. So for this, I'm literally just going to use this 2x4 here on the wall and this 2x4 here on the wall. Those are going to be my 2 points that I will be aiming at. And now, essentially, you're just going to take your rifle and we're going to practice going back and forth between those 2 objects. All right, so now I'm going to take my rifle here, and I'm going to, essentially we're going to freehand it. Now, it's going to be a little difficult for me with this due to the magnification and this being set up for long distance shooting. But yeah, so essentially we're going to stand back a little bit here. I hope I'm in frame still. And we're going to acquire our first target here. And now when you're doing this, right, you're going to want to scan with both eyes open, and then you acquire a target and you lock on with one eye. And now the way you acquire targets, right, is, so if I'm aiming at one and I want to move over, essentially I have my eye closed, I want to move target, I move my eyes before I move my rifle. So I'm acquiring that target, that new target, with my eyes before I'm actually aiming at it. And now this allows you to lock onto it a lot easier and transition. So essentially all we're practicing for this is going between those 2 known points. So I'm just going to aim at the first point here, like so. I want to move, I'm looking at it, move. I want to move back, looking at it, move the rifle, acquire. And then you close your eye back to, you know, looking through your actual optic. But it's literally just that, back and forth, like so. And that's it. That's literally how simple this dry fire drill is as well. So this is the fourth dry fire drill, and now we'll get into our last but not least dry fire drill. A lot of dry fire drill. But yeah, so let's hop into that. Again, this fourth one was very simple, just like the third. All right, now last but not least, for our fifth dry fire drill, we're going to be doing a ready up dry fire drill. So essentially we're going to be incorporating all 4 other drills into this last drill here. And yeah, this is going to be essentially for reaction time. And what we're going to do is we're going to use all 4 of the principles that we used in other dry fire drills to help us achieve a successful iteration. Now what we're going to do is we're going to choose a none point or target. I'm just going to use that left beam that I had chosen for the fourth dry fire drill. And now essentially what you're going to do for this one is you're going to start from the low ready. Now if I had a shot timer, it would be great, but I don't, unfortunately. So we're just going to have to use our imaginations, and I'll have to simulate the beat. But essentially, you can get apps on your phone and stuff, but unfortunately I'm using my phone right now to film, so I do that if I wasn't doing that. But anyways, essentially, yeah, so on the cue, you could have a buddy or somebody else give you a cue as well. But essentially, on whatever you decide to be the cue, you're going to raise your rifle from a low ready, acquire your target, and then fire. And that is essentially it. All right, so now we're gonna run through that. So we will crack this back. We're ready to go now. And now I'll start from the low ready. Obviously it'll be on fire. And whatever the cue is, so we'll go, I'm just gonna make a beeping noise, and then yeah, we'll go. So we go beep. Boom. Obviously that was a little slow, but that's basically the gist of it. And now I'll just let this go on the floor. We can go again, on fire, ready to go, beep, like so. Off the rear, and yeah, that is essentially the ready up drill. So that is our last dry fire drill of today's video. So that is all 5 dry fire drills, and the reason we do this last one and this 5th one again is for reaction time. You want to be able to, if you see a target of some sort that you want to acquire, you want to be able to do that quickly, but also accurately at the same time, right? So we do this drill to get repetitions of there being a cue, and that is our reaction essentially. So when the cue goes, that's when we go up and we acquire and pull the trigger, right? So that's why we do that 5th drill, is just to help with our reaction time and our accuracy as well. Well, that concludes today's video and all 5 of these dry fire drills. I hope you enjoyed it. This is just 5 simple basic dry fire drills that you can do at home, especially if it's a cold winter day like it is right now, or if it's raining, or you don't want to go spend crazy amounts of money on ammo. These are great drills that you can run through to help be more proficient on your firearm. Now again, this video was geared more towards the rifle side of things, but you can also use these same principles to other platforms as well. Now, if you want to see maybe a video that goes a little bit more in depth of a certain drill that I discussed today, maybe I could do something where I, discuss the dry fire drill in a little more detail, and then I actually go out and I do a live fire segment and just, go through why we do that more specifically. So if that's something you want to see, feel free to let me know down in the comments. But again, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you gained a new skill or a new piece of knowledge. And like I do in every video, I hope that you guys are learning something from it. And if you did learn something from it, consider maybe subscribing to the channel if you liked it, and if you like this content, and leaving a like. I would greatly appreciate that. Along with that, I do have an Instagram page for this channel specifically, and for the Mission Ready Society brand that I have been slowly working on. So if you want to support this channel even more, consider following the Instagram page as well. I post extra content there sometimes, or just random stuff. But again, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.